Hi everybody, this is Amanda, Alex, Nama, however you know me. I wanted to update people on the surgery, and most importantly, I do want to let everybody know that I am fine. I'm in no real pain. I want to walk people through the whole process to kind of try to demystify it. I know several of you are thinking about doing this, and I'm hoping that this will help. I want to say right off, I'm an outlier. I have experienced very little pain or discomfort from this at all. It is likely that it will be less comfortable for you, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be intolerable. So I'm just going to talk about what happened to me. And blanket trigger warning for medical stuff, which includes nausea, almost throwing up, and some butt stuff. It's not too bad. I'll try to avoid going into too much detail. The surgery that I had scheduled was a Da Vinci laparoscopically assisted vaginal hysterectomy. It was done by Dr. Rachel Gibbs in Tulsa, and she and I agreed that if the ovaries, once she got in there, looked dodgy, like shady characters, then they would go too, and they did. So she pulled the works, and I now have no cervix, I have no uterus, no tubes, no ovaries. For the pre-op appointment, which was Friday the 14th, I saw the surgeon and I saw her nurse, and we talked about a whole bunch of different stuff. This is the pre-op orientation where you ask all of your questions and they ask all of their questions, and everybody makes sure that there are no surprises. And this is kind of an annoying thing to have to do because it's a little time consuming, but it's also really, really important. And so I suggest that you go into it with a list of questions, a notebook, and preferably somebody who is with you to help you remember things, because you will forget things. As a side note, I am going to post a separate thing about having to go through something like this when you are a survivor of medical abuse, because that was actually probably the most difficult part of this whole thing, was having to disclose this history to my surgeon and her nurse and to other parts of my medical team in order to make sure that they were able to take care of me. I don't want to go into that much right now, but I do just want to say that I was not disappointed in the response that I received from Dr. Gibbs and her team. Once I had had all the blood work done, I went home for the weekend. I was allowed to eat anything I wanted right up until midnight of the day before the surgery. Your surgeon may have different instructions. Please follow them, because this depends on what surgery that they're performing exactly, the equipment, the facility, the surgeon themselves, your particular anatomy. You need to actually try as best you can to follow their directions. I was allowed to eat whatever I wanted. All I really had to do was just like a brief flush out of my system. It wasn't what I would call pleasant, but it was bearable, and I was able to do it alone, by myself in my own time. And I managed to get through it despite it being a very triggering thing for me personally. So I got through it. I have a great deal of optimism that if that is a problem for you, you will be able to get through it too. I went to the hospital the next day. I was admitted. I had to request some medication for anxiety. I had already taken a Klonopin, and they kind of resisted me on additional medication until, again, I broke down crying, and Bear, my girlfriend, was able to explain to them that I have a bad history, and once they were made aware of that, they got back to me with something that I could take very, very quickly. So I feel that was handled respectfully. The surgery itself took about an hour and a half, I am told. I remember none of it. I remember coming to in the recovery room very briefly. I was comfortable. I wasn't in any pain. A nurse came by and asked if I was okay, how was I feeling, and I said something like, "Great, cool." And they wheeled me off to my room, where my girlfriend and my dad came in, and I've never been happier to see anybody in my life. I was not in any pain. They'd obviously given me some good stuff while I was under. I was very groggy, as you would expect, and for several hours I was drifting up and down. I was glad that I had company. I don't think I would have wanted to be alone at that point, but my ability to actually interact with people was quite limited. I was alert enough to cooperate with the nurses and to converse, but I was too out of it to, to have the fun kinds of conversations that you want to have when your friends are there. The nurses came in regularly to check on my incisions and make sure nothing was coming undone. And they had given me an obstetric pad to catch any bleeding that I was having vaginally, and they checked that too. As it turns out, there was very little bleeding. I would say maybe, no exaggeration, maybe a quarter teaspoon. They gave me some shots in the skin of my tummy. I don't remember exactly what those were, but they were to help prevent things like blood clotting and so forth, so that everything was still circulating smoothly. They wanted me to get up and pee as soon as I could, and with help, the getting up wasn't too bad. It didn't really hurt, it was just very tender, like you'd been kicked, or like if you've ever had a really bad bout of IBS or constipation, and afterwards you get that feeling in your gut, like, ugh, that feeling. It was kind of like that. They helped me up. I was able to get up and go and sit on the toilet by myself. I couldn't pee, my bladder was not awake yet, so I had to stagger back to the bed and lay down, and this happened twice, and each time there was considerable nausea after, because I unfortunately had decided that trying to eat or drink something, well, that will help things along, right? No, I tried that a little too soon. I had part of a popsicle and a little bit of, cran grape or something, and I regretted that. I almost threw up twice, but I didn't. I held it down, I was okay. I got something for nausea, and after that it was not too bad. I, in retrospect, should have expected it and requested it. And if you go through this, I do recommend that you request nausea meds, whether you think you need them or not, because it's not going to hurt. It's only going to help. I want to talk about the pain. I was told to expect gas pain because they inflate your tummy to do the laparoscopic stuff. They pump CO2 in there, and then it has to come out, and they can't always get all of it out, and so you have this giant wandering gas bubble just chilling out on your insides, and if you sit up, it goes bloop, and it bubbles up into your shoulder. If you lay down, it goes blorp, and it bubbles up down into your tummy, and it can be really painful. I had none of this. I am an outlier there, which frankly shocked me, and it shocks me still. I have this little chart here, and this is much better than the FACES chart that they give you that says, talking to your doctor or nurse about pain. And on this neat chart here is how pain is described, and it's 0 is no pain. I feel like doing anything I want to do. And 1 is described as sensation. I do feel different than usual. I have areas of my body that feel tense or stiff. There are areas of my body that feel pressure. That was about where I was at most of the time, was at a 1. It wasn't even pain. It was just the sensation that something was going on inside of my body that was not normal. A 2 is mild pain. I have an unpleasant or wrong feeling, but I'm able to distract myself and I can get my mind off this mild pain. So most of the time, the very worst that it got was at about a 2. With one exception. When I did start having pain, I thought it was from the internal surgical site where they cut everything off just under my cervix and they sewed up my vagina, and so there's nothing there. And I thought that that's what was where it was from. And so I requested an actual pain pill, which I had not before then, and they came and they gave me a Percocet, and the pain just kept increasing to about a 4 or a soft 5. A 4 on this little sheet is, I am not comfortable. I can do activities, but I am still aware of my pain. I often feel irritable by the end of the day with my pain. I might have trouble resting at night with this pain. That's pretty accurate. I was squirming around, I was irritable, I was frustrated with it, and it didn't go away. So I started to suspect that this was because I had not yet managed to pee very much. So I had to go to the bathroom and stick my hand under warm running water, and a nurse brought me a little squeegee bottle, which I filled with warm water and sprayed up on my junk, and then I was able to pee. And boy, did I pee like a racehorse. And the instant I emptied my bladder, that pain, which had been at a 4 or a soft 5, it went right down to a 2, and everything was good again. It turns out I didn't really need the Percocet. All I needed was to take a leak. At that point, they came and they gave me my nighttime meds. My girlfriend left and I was alone for the night, and I alternated sleeping and peeing and drinking. It was about as uncomfortable as you would expect, they kept coming in and checking on me, and while they were very surreptitious and very gentle about it, I did still wake up. And they were very apologetic, though I can't say I got a whole lot of rest until, I don't know, maybe at about 2 in the morning, they're like, "You're fine, we're turning the lights out and you're going to sleep." And so I was able to sleep for about 3 hours. I woke up at around 4. I got up, I peed, and I felt pretty good. I drank some cran grape juice that they'd left for me, and I went for a walk. I got myself out of bed, and I walked around the little area outside my room where there was nobody. It was very lonely and quiet, and I was very grateful for that. Walked around for a bit, came back, sat down, read, peed again, got up, walked around a bit, sat down, had one last nap, and then my surgeon came in, poked her head in, and she talked to me for a bit. She said, "Well, you can go home." And so I had time to have the shittiest pancakes I have ever had in my life. They tasted like chicken noodle soup. I don't know how this happened, but they did. It was very bad. And then they came and they gave me one last Percocet for the ride home, just in case it was really painful, and they sent me on my way. I came home, I got settled, and I went straight back to eating and drinking and doing all of the things that I would ordinarily do, just much more slowly. There was no jumping up and down out of bed. That's been the hardest part, is getting up and getting down. The first couple of days, it was a little unpleasant. The first night I was home, I got a dry tickle in my throat. That kind of tickling cough that you get, and it's spasmodic. It's really hard to prevent. I got that, and I'm really glad that nobody was around to hear me making these noises, because I probably sounded like I was dying. It wasn't painful, but it was definitely like my body saying, "You need to stop." I finally managed to get it under control, but that was pretty unpleasant. So I recommend, if you can, just kind of keeping the air a little less dry in your room. My rooms are very dry. Things have felt swollen and achy, and there is a wrong feeling in my body. Like they say on this little pain scale, 1 sensation, I do feel different than usual. But it isn't pain. It's not actual pain. I rested most of the day on Tuesday. I was able to take a shower with the help of my girlfriend. I washed my incisions, which they wanted me to unwrap as soon as I got home so that you would have clean air going over them. I have 3. There is 1 a little bit above my belly button. There are 2 below my belly button off to either side, which means that I have like the Illuminati triangle on my stomach, and my belly button is the eye. So that's kind of cool. I have 13 staples in my body, which squicked me out really bad at first. I was really opposed to the idea of staples, but they are very, very comfortable. They are tight, they do not dig, pinch, squeeze, or do anything else unpleasant. They are very firm and they feel very secure, and believe me, that is something that you want. So if you are offered staples, they're really not that bad, and I say that as somebody who was virulently opposed to them. I did not want staples at all. Oh, I do want to say, I think I already said, I haven't been bleeding. I have had no bleeding. Like a faint pinkish tinge to whatever urine I managed to wipe off of myself is the most that I have experienced. My doctor says that may increase after a few days as the soft scab up at the dead end of my vagina comes off. I may experience some bleeding, clotting, whatever. I highly recommend the Always pads with Flex Foam, which is very soft and it's ultra thin. It sits really flush to your underwear and it molds to your body, and it's actually quite comfortable. I'm sorry I didn't discover these years ago, so if you can locate those, grab those. I got those just in case I happened to be bleeding heavily, which my best friend did. But again, I have not. That depends on your surgeon's technique, and it depends on your individual anatomy. Mine tightens her stitches a lot, and she folds over a lot of the cuff at the top, so that there's really not very much to bleed. Sleep has been the hardest thing. I can't sleep on my back to save my life. I have an abdominal binder, which is a thing that you can buy. You can go on Amazon, or if you are not opposed to the horrific cis sexism, you can go to hystersisters.com and find similar such things. I got mine off of Amazon, and I got another one, a backup, off of a good friend, thank you, Andy, who also sent me some pregnancy belly bands, which are these really soft jersey things that go across your midsection underneath the binder, or even just under your clothes, and they help keep your clothing and things from rubbing against the surgical site. Because itching, when anything touches these things, itching, it's like little mouse whiskers against my skin, and it's terrible. And so sleep has been kind of hard, what with the sloshing around of my innards and the tenderness, and I finally today belatedly discovered that yes, all of the advice that I had been given was good. Take a nice long pillow, tuck it up between your legs, so you can put your leg over it. It will support your tummy, and you'll be much more comfortable. It seems like it would be too uncomfortable to have anything pressing against there, and maybe early on it would be, but right now it's about right. It feels really good. I feel much better about my prospects of sleeping tonight. Wednesday I felt much better. It was the first day I would say I was really back up to about 85% of my normal mental function. I still have issues where I lose my track of thought, I mix words up, I forget words more than is usual for me, and that is the anesthesia, and it is fading. But I'm perky today. This is Thursday, and I feel great. I feel really great. I am having to remind myself that I am actually injured. The lack of pain is maybe not a net plus, in that it is hard for me to remember that I need to take it easy. I have taken nothing but ibuprofen since I got home. I've been trying not to take any Percocet, and I haven't needed it. So I'm very grateful for that, because it will slow your system down and stop you up. And that is the other thing that I unfortunately want to address, which is that when you go into something like this, don't just go into it with a pamphlet and some flim-flam ideas about what's going to help you with your constipation. You need a plan, and you need a backup plan for when that plan fails. This is not catastrophic. This is not a terrible thing to be afraid of. What this is you managing a symptom that you are probably going to have, doing the best that you can to prevent pain. My doctor and the nurse said that most post-surgical pain from this procedure comes from constipation. And after experiencing how painful it was to have to pee, I absolutely believe this. Now, I'm going to be brutally and disgustingly honest with you. I was not able to poop until today, Thursday, after the last poop I took being late Sunday night. I finally evicted the problem child with the help of mineral oil, which is much gentler than the other stuff that you can take. I have been taking stool softeners and I've been taking Miralax every day, but that wasn't quite enough. So you really got to be proactive and get in there, do what they tell you to do, drink all the water, and work within what you know your body will tolerate. Like, especially I have IBS, so I know that fiber, any kind of fiber for me, I don't care what they tell me it's going to do. It's going to constipate me. So maybe if you have a gastroenterologist, work with them as well. And right now I just kind of want to address kind of apprehensions that I know that people have. I was very afraid. I was very afraid I was going to experience a lot of pain, that it was going to be unbearable, that by the time my girlfriend went back to work, which was today, she took Wednesday off, bless her, to be with me, I was afraid that I still wouldn't be functional, and that getting up to go and do things like getting a refill on my drink, or, to help one of the cats get out of a drawer they had been stuck in or something. I was afraid these things would be really impossible and unpleasant, and they haven't been. And again, I am an outlier, but I want to point something out, which is that in any surgery like this, there's all these variables. Your surgeon, the facility, the equipment, your body, and there's any number of things that could go wrong. And I know that you're thinking right now, oh God, yes, that's the problem. I'm afraid that things will go wrong. And I want you to sincerely consider the fact that while yes, some of them might go wrong, not everything is going to go wrong. Some of it is going to go your way. Some of the things that you're afraid of are not going to happen. And some of the things that you're afraid of are going to happen, but they will be surprisingly easy to deal with if you kind of try to prepare ahead of time and you have a plan in place for when those things happen. So, know what the most likely side effects are going to be. Know about surgical site incisions and what to look for infections. Know about how to manage constipation, that kind of thing. Have your nurses show you how to get in and out of bed. Have them show you how to get up and down off of the toilet if you have a considerable amount of pain. I didn't need to be shown this, I was fine. You may need to be. Do not be afraid to ask for assistance. You don't have to wing it. This is their job. I know that there are assholes lurking in the medical profession at every turn. Believe me, nobody is more aware of this than I am. But really, your only choice is to deal with that as it comes and just kind of assume that the people you're going to be dealing with are going to want to help you. I want to be encouraging. I heard from a lot of people who had experiences better than the worst, but not as good as I feel. And I heard from a lot of people who had a very hard time, including my very dear best friend Barb, who had a really difficult recovery. And I am sorry for that, if that happens to you, and that is a valid thing that I think that you should share. I think those stories need to be out there. But I also think that stories like mine, other outliers, positive ones, need to be out there too. This is not something that is universally traumatic or bad. Something that my surgeon said to me was that patients who come in with endometriosis, which is what we discovered that I had, frequently come out of the surgery feeling really good. Maybe not better than they went in, because, you've had a body part ripped out and you've got, these holes poked into you. But she says they generally tend to come out feeling a lot better than they thought they would. And I have to say that, for me, that has definitely been the case. I feel uncannily good. And I feel really good about the whole thing. The whole process was handled beautifully, start to finish. Right up to me calling today for assistance because, no pooping, and I had to call the nurse and ask what to do about that, and it was taken care of. So just be aware that this is a thing that you can do, and if you're scared, take it day by day and thing by thing, and try not to think of all of the things that you are afraid of as one massive monolithic thing. Think of them as individual things, and that if one of them goes wrong, not all of them will. And as much as you can, try to plan for those things. Thinking outside of the box, things that your doctors might not think to recommend to you, like the abdominal binder. There's not much else I really want to say. If you have any questions, please direct them to me, and I will do my best to answer them. Like I said, her name is Rachel Gibbs, and I cannot recommend her enough. She worked on me, she worked on my sister, she worked on my good friend. I don't know if I should say their names. She worked on 2 of my good friends, and none of them have had anything bad to say about her, and having met her, she is a awesome lady who has seen it all and done it all and will treat you right with actual respect and gentleness. I like her. I like her very much. And her nurse, Jennifer, is worth her weight in gold. So if you have the opportunity to go to that clinic and see them, they're a very good team. That is my field report, and I hope it is sufficient. Like I said, if you have any other questions, don't hesitate to let me know, and I will try to get those answered for you. Thank you, and bye-bye.